I see CBI families. Hello. Nice. Ah, humans.
Hello.
Hot.
I got it, Rachel.
Oh, you getting some tech help?
I got it anyway.
Oh. Now, you know, funny, you don't look like Candace. Zoom names can be very misleading. Oh, I'm Macintosh. Okay, let me change that here. Okay.
Hi.
Hello.
Hey, Ben, this is Ava. I'm just on audio today. I'm not sure if it's showing up with my name or not.
Hi.
Oh, thanks, Ava. I don't see you. Kind of a mystery. Usually you get like a little name indicator or something, but I'm glad you're there.
That's not a very politically correct thing to say, Ben. I can identify however I
Okay. Invisible. Wow. Hey, Kathy. Hey, Matt. Great.
John, it looks like he's having a little bit of tech trouble.
Free Lefkowitz box. I see. I was recently that are putting up a giant condominium across from my block, and
Ooh, Ben, are you able to hear us?
you know, it's one of those town halls. What are you going to do with the space, kind of thing? And none of them would have their picture shown. And somebody from the neighborhood association said, you know, look, if this was an in-person thing, we would be able to see, you know, what's going on. I think the least you could do is that. So I thought that was kind of cool. And they're still going to put up, I'm going to have 114 new neighbors across the street with limited parking. It's urban living. Okay,
Right.
I see we've got a few more families coming on. Do we have, is Cantor with us yet?
Not quite yet.
Okay, well, it's just 4. Should we, can I get a thumbs up if you have air conditioning in your home? Oh, wow, the modern conveniences. Nice. We that upgrade. Okay. Hey, McKenna.
Unmute my video.
Okay, we've got Jake and Chase coming on. Tracy. Oh, excuse me 1 second. You got all this is.
I think Ben is going to take a look at his Wi-Fi connection, maybe.
Chelsea, is there an obvious button we're missing to have our video show?
Are you on a computer?
Yeah, I'm normally I see it, but I don't see it.
On the bottom left, by mute, stop, start video.
Yeah, it just says stop video, but it's not showing on. Do you see us?
No. Do you have something covering it?
No.
Zoom definitely, on my end, it thinks you're connected to a camera, which is...
What you need to do is there's a little arrow next to the stop video, and click that arrow and it'll tell you what camera you're using. Maybe you have to switch cameras.
Here we go, our local tech expert. Thank you.
Ah, this is perfect.
Did you select a video?
Um,
Or select a camera?
Well, that was Cantor. Chelsea, she was having a little trouble with the link. I don't know if you're able to like send her
She's
a
here.
real quick
I
one.
got it.
And
Yeah, she's here.
Sorry.
she is. Oh,
I got it.
oh,
All right.
thank you and thank you.
I have to rename myself.
Ah,
Okay. Sorry about
there's the
that.
name that we're given, the name we give ourselves, the name that we're known by.
Yeah. I am known by Beta's name, and I love Beta. Hi, everybody. All right. There we go. Oh, this is so fun.
Welcome, everyone. I'm so glad that you're here. It's excellent to see you all. I really, really appreciate everyone being on the call, and we're excited to share with you our plans for fall for our middle school. And we're really thinking about September, October, November in terms of the opening model that we're going to present to you. And knowing that, like everything, have our ears out for when it's safe to all be together again in person. And I extremely look forward to that. So to frame our time together, I'd like to invite Cantor Kahana to start us out with some Jewish texts. And, you know, like you do.
Like I do. Like I'm happy to do. Anyway, it's
Yeah.
I know we always say this in these meetings, but really we miss you, and it's so good to see everybody's faces. I love scrolling through. I'm going to read a few words that I wrote that I was thinking about getting on this call with all of you, and I'm calling this reflection, Love in the Summer of Our Separation. At the times when our people felt most separated from all that was good and normal, like after the destruction of the Second Temple, they were separated from what they knew. They were separated from the land they came from, the temple they prayed at. The source of comfort seemed very far away from them. And it was exactly then that prophets came forward after having chastised them for their lack of faith. And instead of yelling at them, they gave the people something to hold onto with hope. They gave them a sense of comfort, a series of writings. They gave them a sense of being loved, a love for their tradition, a love for themselves, a love for each other and for their creator. So it just so happens that today, we didn't plan this, but today is Tu B'Av. It's the 15th of the month of Av. It's celebrated in Israel as a day of love. It's kind of like Jewish Valentine's Day. And then in less than 2 weeks from now, we have the beginning of a new Jewish month, the month of Elul. And the month of Elul is actually an acronym. It's Aleph Lamed Vav Lamed, and it stands for Ani L'Dodi V'Dodi Li. I am my beloved's. May my beloved ever be mine. And for these next weeks, the part of the cycle of our reading of Haftarah that goes from Tisha B'Av, the low point in the year of the summer, and then leading us right up to the holidays, it's all about being comforted, feeling like part of a community. And it leads us right into Rosh Hashanah. So on this day of love, I want us to be centered in that sense of how is it that we express love for ourselves, for our children, a love of teaching, a love of ethical values and customs that really root us in ancient rituals that give our lives purpose, like bar and bat mitzvah, b'nai mitzvah. That's what that is, exactly. It's an act of love for Torah, for family, for the young sprouts that are taking it on and making it their own. So we are so thankful to all of you for being in this partnership with us, in this holy search, this holy tradition, as we keep teaching our kids and helping them really unfold and blossom. And so we'll fill you in on how we're going to get there, but really with your help.
Yeah, Shakha, thank you so much, Cantor. It's so great to hear those inspiring words. I'm really grateful for that. Um, so in our middle school cycle, historically, this would be our year in terms of Jewish studies, where we look at Jewish communities from all around the world. And one of the things that we're excited about, even as we're in this virtual space, is utilizing the possibilities and the technologies to really bring those materials to life. And so in terms of the Jewish studies in this topic, we start off with our own personal histories, and there's some family tree type activities that we do. We learn about Jewish Portland and have some wonderful partnership ability with the Jewish Museum. This is a year where our students dive deeper into the Shoah, into the Holocaust. And developmentally, this is when we teach this topic. We had a question at our last town hall, because at the end of 5th grade, we usually begin our Holocaust studies by hiking together to the Holocaust Memorial. And it's really a beautiful way to get into this hard topic and rough part of our people's history. And so I'm hopeful that this group is still going to be able to do that when we can be together. Perhaps in the spring, we'll do that together. And as part of the learning this year, the kids are going to learn about Jewish communities from around the world, and with possibilities of speakers and arts. The other piece to this year is the social justice energy that's happening all around us. And it's really important that our kids, through our Jewish lens, through our teachers, through the synagogue, get to take on these topics and really express themselves and their activism and their social justice. Our teachers are reviewing right now is teachingtolerance.org, which is part of the more incredible curriculum on this topic. Our lead middle school teacher is a social
Whoops. It looks like we
Am
may
I back?
have lost Ben. There he is.
Am I back?
You're back.
Okay. Our lead social studies lead teacher is a social studies teacher who's taught a lot of history. He has experience with virtual platforms such as Google Classroom. He's currently a library science major, getting a degree in the field, and he's very excited to take on moving our curriculum to a hybrid virtual space. So I'm excited to have him with us, and in doing that, other members of our middle school team, really amazing people, counseling degree, and is just been thinking a lot about the social emotional impact, again, through a Jewish lens that we're all feeling, and how do we connect with our kids and families. We've got a wonderful team. So, you know, in terms of the Jewish learning, the topics that we're taking on, the faculty that are part of our team, I'm very excited and enthusiastic, even while I'm going to be missing snack time in person with all of you. And I really feel like there's just a lot of exciting possibilities. I know that for this age group, the Hebrew instruction and the B'nai Mitzvah studies is huge, and that's totally understandable. And so Cantor, I want to kind of swing it back to you a little bit to talk about, if you will, what the Hebrew piece is going to look like, and I'll chime in as well.
Thank you. I love hearing you kind of slow down, Ben, because we're getting a little bit of that on the virtual Zoom, but it's pretty great. So so we are going to actually make lemonade out of the lemons here and utilize teachers that don't just live right here. And we're going to focus on teaching Hebrew in a way that will just be a few kids per teacher. And some of this will also be asynchronous learning so that it can be more at a time that's convenient for you. So for example, we have a teacher that lives in Baltimore, I think, on the other side of the country, but was part of our community. Wonderful Hebrew teacher that we're able to pull in. I'm able to work with the 7th graders during their segment on Sundays, and I can share that with some other fantastic people, including the most recent Portlander, one of the most recent Portlanders in our community, which is Cantor Raina Green, that has joined us in a part-time capacity, and some of you know Raina from her years here before. So Cantor Green will be helping with also the training of B'nai Mitzvah, and we're just thrilled to have her as one of our clergy and one of our teachers. There is also another Cantor in town who retired here from Chicago, Cantor Miriam Eskenazi, and she's been doing some private tutoring, and we're still working out exactly what she'll be doing, but we have just some really experienced, wonderful people that will be on board and working with the students in these small pods, which I think is a much better way to go at it, especially in this digital format. Ben, fill in some more. I'm sure I missed something there.
Well, I appreciate you bringing up that the piece about the teachers. It's kind of one of those silver linings where we've been able to reach out to people all over the country. I have a teacher who was the head song leader at Camp Kalsman at one point. That's a phenomenal Hebrew teacher in the Bay Area. He's interested in working with us. Cantor mentioned Ayal. 2 other Cantors on the team working with the kids. So I mentioned this in the last town hall as well. I feel very confident that we can teach language, via country is really adopting this small group model, which we know anyway is best practices for language instruction. The other piece that Cantor mentioned that I want to reiterate is the timing. And so we're envisioning with these small groups, sending to you all like a sign-up genius, if you will, so you can kind of look and see what time slots are going to work for your family. And the Hebrew teachers are also in some ways going to be case managers for each group. And it may be that as families, the 3 of you land on, like, we'd actually really like to do this on Wednesday night. Our Sundays are pretty full up and we're doing the Jewish studies piece. So we're going to have a lot of flexibility and a lot of communication that way. So I feel encouraged about it. A couple of questions that came up in other town halls were the assessment pieces. So what we do is we kind of assess the kids early on and kind of get a sense of where their skill levels are. Cantor, you and I were talking earlier today about grouping kids together that have a Havdalah service versus a morning service, and what might that look like. So I just want families, for all of you, to know that we're being very intentional about how we're grouping the kids, and who we're pairing them with. We keep an eye on personalities and tutors and see how that looks and feels. We're also very hopeful of engaging our high school kids, our Madrahim, who are, some of them are really talented with the language. We lost some really good seniors, but I'm hopeful of identifying who are those next kids that really love to teach Hebrew. I saw at the Bat Mitzvah last weekend that one of our Madrachot got a shout out, which was just wonderful for me to hear that one of our high school tutors has been so impactful. And it's just fun too, to have those relationships with the teens and learning the language. The other part of this, Chelsea, I don't want to put you on the spot too much, but the Dor Hadash piece, maybe we should talk about a little bit.
Yes, we are working on ways to build that community component into our new virtual world using our middle school youth group called Dor Hadash, which is in the past we've done monthly social events. I know many of the 7th grade families have participated last year when they had 6th graders in the program, and we are still looking at doing monthly programs. They just might look a little bit different now. Things like small clubs through Minecraft, I should know this, but Minecraft, and music clubs, small groups like that, and then doing overall things together online. Our high schoolers are doing a postcard campaign right now for getting the vote out. We do similar things like that with some of our middle schoolers. We could do online game playing where it's something like Jackbox. If anyone has that game at home, it's like something you can do with a phone or on a computer, and if you're in a Zoom together, you can all play at the same time. And my hope is that these students will help drive a lot of what Dor Hadash ends up doing. That it will be an ongoing conversation with us checking in with our 6th and 7th graders saying, what are you doing? What would you like to do with your friends? What would be fun? How can we facilitate those things? And then being able to do them. And I foresee most of my time and our youth group leader Hattie's time in talking with our middle schoolers and our high schoolers to hear what they need, and then spending time making it happen for them and doing that on likely a monthly basis, probably still on Sundays, along with the rest of our middle school program. But again, if that's not a day that works and we're hearing other days, that's totally open and an option as well.
Thank you. So you folks have heard a little bit about the Jewish Studies curriculum, the Hebrew model, some of our thinking in terms of the social, emotional components, and just getting kids together. Chelsea mentioned the Minecraft. I have, some of kids might have had Alex Mansfield, one of our teachers, just graduated from the Jewish Studies department at PSU, and he's actually building out a CBI Minecraft space. And he envisions it like a club that you could log on to, and it looks pretty cool. And for the high school, he's developed a Masada Minecraft, where the elective for the high school kids is to actually create the Minecraft for the middle school kids. So, you know, just playing around with the different possibilities that we can do as an example, but I appreciate you mentioning that one as well. Should we open up for some questions?
I wanted to say, for any of you, I know this isn't exactly a religious school curriculum, but those of you that maybe have 7th graders or are, you know, getting more close to B'nai Mitzvah, we've started putting out a weekly update, which we're going to do for about the next, however long we want to. But every week we'll send out a little bit of an update as to where we are that day in terms of use of the sanctuary for B'nai Mitzvah, etc. So we want to make sure that we know it's an anxious time, and we want to make sure that you know that we are thinking about all of this and struggling with it and trying to do the best we can. So you'll be getting weekly updates from us. Those of you like from now through December, for the next 6 months, we'll keep doing that.
Hey there, this is Dan. I'll jump in with the question. Our daughter Ariella's heading into 6th grade in a few weeks here. First off, thank you all for this awfulness around trying to revise an entire religious school program amongst, all of this. I know how hard that is at home and at work. Everyone's trying to adjust to this indefinite new reality, so much appreciated. I'm just taking notes from my wife and about some of the different ideas. It's really exciting to hear about the different creative ways, particularly around Hebrew studies and the sort of smaller groups. What I'm trying to put together in my head is and maybe this is part of the thing that's really different, but what does a schedule look like on Sunday or across the week? And I'm having a hard time being able to say, okay, there's going to be X amount of hours on this day every week, and then there's maybe a rotating schedule of Hebrew studies with a small group. Is that something that you all can speak to a little bit?
Yes, and thank you for the question and the appreciation. So what we know about languages is often is better. And so the kids are going to have a weekly Hebrew in the small groups, which will happen right now. We're going to start with the Sign Up Geniuses between 10 and noon on a Sunday. And twice a month, synchronous time, we're going to have the Jewish studies component with the Judaism around the world. As in terms of the real-time piece. And then our thought is when these small groups happen, if a group wants to not be on a Sunday and kind of work with their teacher and the other families about being on another day, that we could do that. But in terms of the synchronous learning, it would be twice a month on a Sunday between 10 and noon with the Jewish studies. Every Sunday, approximately a half an hour for Hebrew. And then thinking about off times if during the week, if families want to change the Hebrew study, and then the different clubs and family programs that we have that are going to be offered, like after school times and things like that. But the asynchronous part of this is really a big piece. So it could be that a Hebrew teacher has a decoding assignment and wants the kids to read a page of Hebrew, and so he or she may use a Flipgrid as an assignment and ask the student to record themselves, and that way they can hear them. That doesn't have to happen on a Sunday. And so there's going to be an element that our hope is that families are going to be able to find the time that works for them to do a lot of this. And that way the teacher can respond back with a video or with an email and try to personalize that as much as we can. One of the lessons that I took away from last spring was a whole bunch of kids on Zoom at the same time is not great. And there needs to be a lot of pre-teaching. We need to incorporate the tech tools. We need to bring the class sizes down, especially with the Hebrew. With the younger kids, we're doing a little bit more of physically getting things into their hands. We've created learning kits that are going to have the coloring and the art supplies, and there'll be probably some of that with the middle school, but I think it's going to be more of the tech element in the small groups with the middle and the older kids. But does
Hey,
that
Ben.
kind of give you a feel for what it might look like for a week?
Yeah,
this
I
is
think
Ava.
so.
Can you hear me?
Thank you.
Yes.
Oh, sorry, just to clarify, I thought when I was at yesterday's town hall for the elementary, I thought you said that the middle school kids, if we had signed them up for the IHP when they would normally go Sundays and Thursdays, would be doing Hebrew twice a week. But if I understood the summary you just gave, you mentioned Hebrew once a week.
Eva, yes, and I apologize. The IHP program is goes to 5th grade. And so I think I was mistaken when you had asked the question. The 6th graders generally have Hebrew once a week in synchronous
Got it.
time. Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. Sorry about that confusion. Now, we do have some kids that want to do more and families that want to connect, more individually and do that. And that's certainly something that we can look at. I mean, with this time shift, there's a lot of different possibilities. We found that kids that go through the program do pretty well. I mean, it depends on how much you put into it, your aptitude for it, the support that you have. For my kids, they were able to kind of just do the once a week Hebrew. For other kids, they really want to have a tutor closer to Bar Bat Mitzvah. My youngest daughter asked for a tutor about a month before, and I think she just wanted to know that yes, she could do the Hebrew. Like she needed somebody else besides her parents to say, yeah, I got that. So that's definitely something that we keep an eye on, and that's something that Cantor and the clergy team say as well too, in terms of how kids are progressing.
And let me add there about the tutors. I keep a list of recommended tutors that I work with that I know are good and can work well with the kids and are in sync with us. And sometimes families want a little bit of extra, and they'll go to a private tutor for that in addition to whatever they're doing here. And I'm happy to talk with you about that. Or if you know your child and you know that they would benefit by having a little extra, please reach out to me, because it's always better, I think, to be ahead of that than doing some catch up. So if that would benefit and augment, we've got a list of tutors, different types of personalities, and we can talk through all that, like what might be a good fit if that's something you would like.
Can I ask a question?
Yes.
Sorry, I'm still kind of confused. So can you just clarify, when are you guys going to just be sending a list of small groups and then like we meet with the person? I don't know. I just don't understand what you're saying.
For the Hebrew?
Yeah. And the Jewish studies part. All I wrote down was 10 to 12 on Sunday.
Okay. So for the Jewish studies part, that is a whole group where the kids will start off with all their either 6th grade or 7th grade. And then that is a team taught grade level. And so from there, they'll split into smaller breakout rooms, if you will, for their learning. And that's going to happen twice a month. For the Hebrew, which is a separate class, which also happens between the hours of 10 and noon, you'll have an option to sign up for a time slot within that. We're envisioning a group of 3 where that will be every week, where one teacher will work with the 3 students on the Hebrew. On our end, what we do is kind of assess the kids and see where they're at and try to make good matches and kind of put all that together.
Okay.
And then all of those B'nai Mitzvah tutors, we call them, those Hebrew teachers, they report to Cantor and can let her know how the kids are doing. As kids get closer to B'nai Mitzvah, Cantor then generally takes that group, which is something she does now. As kids are getting closer, she works with them. and make sure that they're feeling really, really good as they get into that date. The other part that maybe sounded confusing is that once we establish these small Hebrew groups, it may be that we have some families that don't want to do them on Sunday. And I was just trying to illuminate that we have some flexibility in terms of, I have tutors that have a willingness to teach on a different day. And it may be for your family that you want to be in a group on a Wednesday at 4:30. So I just wanted to kind of like have everybody think about the possibilities of that. I think we'll probably start with that Sunday. And then because it's so much smaller, we'll have the ability to be a little bit more flexible.
I just have a follow-up to that question. So you do envision that the kids will be able to get together as a grade at some point. I'm just thinking socially as well. I know we're talking a lot about small groups, but I'm sure, they would like to, would appreciate an opportunity to see friends from across the grade.
I hear you. And, that in this time of this weird isolation that we're in, that's actually my biggest challenge. Like, I know we're going to teach these kids the Hebrew. We've got a great team. We've got a great model. The technology is there. And really for all of us, it's how do we maintain community? And, I think your point is so on. So right now, twice a month, the kids will be all together as a grade. And then within that time, they will be in different breakouts, but with different kids each time. And then we're hopeful with the social piece as well with the Dor Hadash to get them together. Some of the things that we're thinking about with the younger grades are, an art Shabbat candlestick project that goes home. And the kids make them, the art teacher works with them, and there's videos, and they share them in their class. But then they also have other families that they light candles with and do Shabbat, before everybody goes off and does their meals as ways of connecting. And so I want that so much for our older grades and our middle school kids, because that's part of the fun of the whole bar bat mitzvah scene. It was such a social time for both of my daughters, and it's supposed to be, so I think your point is really on, and I just want you to know that we're thinking about it. We have times when it is all group, and to just be transparent that that's actually the hard part. We can learn about Portland Jews and Portland history and have it be really interactive and fun and see places and use video and have speakers and archives from the museum. Like, we can do this. What's harder is kicking it at snack time that they got every week. And I think your point really speaks to the heart of that. Like, how do we keep that going? One of the ways is when we can is to be able to get outside and do some things in person, which I know we really want to do. Chelsea mentioned the postcard Get Out the Vote campaign, which is being student driven, which is awesome. And he wants to be on the plaza. And can we do that? We want that. We haven't done that yet with our community. But I'm really, really hopeful as things progress, hopefully in the right direction, that we can do that. And if we can get outside, like the Torah trek, getting into the woods that Cantor leads, the different hikes, we have a grid that we've created in terms of thinking about like Jewish learning, Torah, acts of loving kindness, mitzvot, community. And we have activities and scenarios like if you have a pod going on a Rosh Hashanah apple picking. But we're just not there yet in terms of like encouraging people to physically be together. what you're speaking about in terms of community, I think so deeply about and really appreciate and welcome ideas. In our town hall yesterday, we had a new family that said, you know, my child in the 3rd grade is starting CBI for the first time. Like, what is that going to look like for her? And as I stumbled for an answer, Michelle Copeland, another parent, said, you know what, my daughter's in 3rd grade. You know, and today I know, Chelsea, you helped connect. We got those two connected, and I really think it's going to take those type of connections with each other. And I think that we can be a conduit for that. I know this is something that Cantor Kahana and the clergy have really been talking about, Havara groups, and how do we do that for each other?
Even, I was thinking, I mean, even if it's something as simple as a couple families in maybe these 2 grades or in the grade that your child is in, you want to, you know, get together right before 10 o'clock and kind of sit and have a bagel together, or after, you know, I mean, it's like this, but it's still nice to even light candles like on Shabbat maybe, or you know, figure out different ways that your families might, in a virtual way, still be able to get to know each other and be together. We'd be happy to support you in that. I know Chelsea and McKenna would, you know, be really glad to try to put you together with another family. So let us know if that's something you're interested in.
And Cantor, while you were sharing those thoughts, I was thinking about just how unique this is for all of the families on the B'nai Mitzvah journey right now. And then maybe, you know, sometimes getting together, it's great to have, whether you're in a book group or something that, you know, kind of holds that topic. And we might want to consider being on this B'nai Mitzvah journey together, and really like sharing ideas and how does that look. And I know that's something a little bit that's been happening with the meetings that you've been having with the B'nai Mitzvah families.
Yeah. Yeah, we're also, you know, obviously this is, it's new territory for all of us. And much as sometimes we look at each other and say, this is like throwing spaghetti at the wall, and then just let's see what's going to work here. You know, we're also trying to do it by looking at best practices in other places and being really intentional. And we're really open to your feedback and your suggestions as well. So to make this as robust and yet as flexible to meet everybody's needs as possible.
Hi, this is Jake Rosenberg. I have a question. You know, one of the things when Alana was preparing for her bat mitzvah was that service that you held with the middle school students, Cantor, on a weekly basis. Any thought about trying to incorporate some of that in? It was just real helpful for her, kind of learning the flow of the service and learning the prayers, etc.
Ben, what are we thinking about that?
I'm really glad you asked that. So right now we were talking about a learning service for the middle and the high school kids. And I love that learning service. That's a really big part of when we're together on Sundays. And so the thought is to somehow weave the learning that our kids are doing in the small Hebrew groups with the service, so we can make it a little bit more participatory in that way, in this mode. But I do highly value, you know, that component. And, you know, Cantor, we could really look at, like we are with the high school, if we wanted to incorporate the learning service on the days where the kids have the Jewish studies.
Yeah.
And another great piece of that was a lot of those services were led by our high school teens, which was just awesome to see. And some of them played guitar in the service. So I appreciate you keeping that on our front burner. And
Yeah,
how we can,
I agree. That's really important. It's good practice. It's good modeling, all of that. Yeah.
Great, thanks.
Hi, this is Jessica. Thank you so much for
Hi.
the meeting. I just wanted to ask, I know maybe in the past that kids that go to PJA, maybe there was a little bit different schedule for them. Is there anything related for PJA kids that's going to be different than what you've described already?
you know, historically with the PJA kids, like middle school is the time where they sort of fold right into our program, if you will. A lot of that is making the CBI connections with the other kids. Certainly, we found that the kids coming out of PJA have some Hebrew chops generally. And so, you know, in terms of the assessment, they're going to be with kids that can keep up with them. And I know that in terms of, and I don't want to speak too much about it with Cantor here, but sometimes kids want to take on more if they're really adept at the Hebrew, and there's some modifications that we can do to make things really challenging and fun. But generally, it's been a positive experience for the PJA kids to jump in on the Jewish studies that we do, because it looks and feels different. Practicing the wait time. So we had put out a survey at the end of last school year, and one of the themes that came back was that Sundays still generally felt good in terms of timing and Jewish studies for the kids. And I'm just wondering, you know, we're in this strange period. Is that still, as you all are putting together the flow and what the week is going to look like, does that still feel pretty good in terms of space and capacity to do that? Yeah. It's hard to think about. My youngest daughter is going to be a junior in high school and is on a, you know, dances, and she's just, you know, we're looking at this year, and she actually turned to me and said, you know, am I going to learn anything this year? And I said, at Temple you are. I can't, you know, but it's, you know, I think all of the kids are thinking about that. Matt, I don't want to put you on this spot because I know you're a civilian in this call, but I know that you're deeply involved with the virtual learning at PJA. And are you able to share a little bit of the timing of things that the group was thinking about, and if it seems similar to kind of our framing?
You mean in terms of like a daily schedule, or like how long we're doing virtual learning?
Yeah, sort of the length of time that the kids are in sessions. And
yeah, I mean, they're getting the so what they did, you know, for
you know,
our middle
one
school,
time, are they on for an hour? Are they on for a half an hour?
most of the classes, I believe, for the middle school were an hour, you know, for Zoom classes. So they're, you know, it's a mix of both synchronous and asynchronous learning. They don't have every, you know, we didn't, you're not replicating the school day, you know, so you're not gonna have a kid sit in front of a computer for, you know, 6 hours. It's ridiculous. But we took our schedule, and they would have 2 or 3 kind of main classes a day. So it might be, you know, humanities and math on Mondays, and then science and Jewish studies and Hebrew on Tuesdays, and they kind of, you know, alternate as you're going along. And then we made sure to work in work time and then office hours so they could talk to the the teachers as
And
well.
then their elective.
And then there's electives are kind of like, they kind of took their electives on Fridays. So we took kind of our schedule on Fridays and made that kind of a special day. But
Nice.
need to
And-
tweak, like it's constantly getting tweaked too, based on feedback, and so which is important to see. I think for the religious school, it's the same way. I mean, I think you roll it out for 4 to 6 weeks, and then you get some feedback and see what's working and not, and if needs little tweaks. And I think everyone, we've been successful is that people are understanding it's interesting times, and they're willing to have a little bit of patience, and then good feedback and good attitudes around everything, which has been very helpful.
Thank you.
Ben, it's Jordana and Sadie, and I was going to throw this out there, and I don't know if it really is more related just to us, and it's a conversation for you and I to have later, or maybe it'll be resonate with somebody else and worthwhile. But as a PJA student, based on what we experienced in the spring, and I realized that was lower school, not middle school, so I anticipated a schedule change that looks quite different anyway. But by the time the weekend came around, I mean, we were toast. Like, there was just like, I couldn't ask them to get on a Zoom even for 30 minutes. It just I felt like wrong about it. And then for it to be something that, in our case, it's great for the socializing that I think some other parents have acknowledged, but for the content, we get so much of that gratefully at PJA, and I know it looks different at religious school, and all of it is so rich and worthwhile. When you have to prioritize, and it means one more screen session, we as a family would prioritize being outdoors or going somewhere with a different scenery. So having said that, what I'm trying to kind of navigate here is how can we be involved with religious school and you mentioned like the day of the week kind of thing, and not have it be, the schedule is confusing. I know you've tried to explain it to us now 3 different times on this call, and I'm still kind of scratching my head a little bit. It's twice a month on Sundays for this certain thing, and then once we get into small groups, then it may or may not be for 30 minutes of Hebrew on Sunday. I'm just wondering, is there a possibility for at least the fall to experience the CBI religious school experience in a set time that's not on a weekend with maybe, the handful of other families that are in the same boat? And I realize this is all becoming so customized and personalized, and I'm not trying to make anything, special for us. I'm just trying to figure out if what you're offering, if we can make that work for us this year, if that makes any sense. And like I said, if this doesn't resonate on a broad spectrum, I'm more than happy to take this conversation offline.
No, I really appreciate what you're saying. And I am going to, we're going to send out a visual schedule of what all this looks like a little bit, because I think it's, sometimes that will help in terms of kind of seeing it as a map. Certainly with the Hebrew B'nai Mitzvah piece, we could look at your family not being on a Sunday. There's also going to be a lot of asynchronous components with video clips and teachers and, times. Why don't we, I'll reach out to you and kind of get a little bit of more of a feel of what you're thinking. But my knee-jerk answer is like this: if there was ever a year of possibilities and structuring it for families with what we have going on, this is it. So maybe I could, kind of give you a call. And I think too, when you start to see how things look or feel, and you kind of see how things are feeling on your end too, those two are going to be able to come together. And I think at the heart of this is the B'nai Mitzvah piece. And then we'll keep that focus there and kind of branch out. But want me to reach out to you next week?
Yeah, that would be great, Ben.
Talk about it some more?
Yeah, that'd be great. Thank you.
I wonder too, if as we talk about asynchronous learning and like what learning with CBI might look like outside of Zoom and the virtual classroom, if it'd be helpful to see this list that we put together in some of the slides.
You know, I did flip through the slides, and it might be helpful. I mean, I think, you know, there's kind of two components I'm thinking about. One is the Zoom, which I see from the comments that we're not alone on that. But to be perfectly honest, and I'm only speaking from the perspective that I had this last spring, there's a lot for us parents to be monitoring and managing with this asynchronous learning. Like, you know, our kids are managing a lot of new, and you know, are doing, you know, generally speaking, a phenomenal job navigating this new world. But I don't know how much more asynchronous learning I can be responsible for to make sure that they're on top of and doing. And I don't want it to, I want it to feel joy-filled like it feels when we're all together. And I know that that's impossible to replicate right now, but I can't have it be another, did you do your whatever, so that you're prepared for whatever. I just, the responsibility of that on both the child and the parent feels heavy right now, on top of a lot of extra responsibility to make sure things are happening in the regular school day, which is something that, I mean, at least my experience at PJA, I've had to do very little of, because the school has like systems in place that if a child's not getting their work done, there's like multiple filters that are, you know, before it even gets to me. And that's not happening necessarily in this virtual world that we're in. And that's all fine, but it's a lot to navigate. So I appreciate the opportunity to learn outside of a schedule and outside of a specific group, but the responsibility to follow up with that and to make sure it's still happening is an additional weight on me. And I just want to walk into this fall totally open to opportunity. And there's a lot of things that are happening that are really like amazing. I just want to be somewhat reasonable with myself and my child of what we can expect from ourselves.
I would add, I
Thank
think,
you.
in terms of
You know,
I would just reiterate keep it simple. I think that part, you know, we can't do anything about Zoom and all that. And again, yes, like we should be so grateful for the flexibility and opportunities, but also like keeping it simple for everybody right now would probably take some pressure off, just even if schedule wise. That would just be my personal feedback along those lines.
I just want to jump in because I know there's a lot of folks on here to counter that perspective a bit. I know there's 28 folks on here, and I appreciate the opportunity for, I think what I'm equating with asynchronous learning is the opportunity to have smaller groups and more customized experience, because our kids' experience as we did the quick transition last year, and I don't put this on anybody at CBI, I think it's just the nature of Zoom and children, is that there were a couple kids every week that kind of dominated the conversation, and it was very difficult for her to engage. And so I think that this is the challenge we're going to have, is like, to me, simplicity and trying to get everybody on at the same time means I think we're going to come across challenges of trying to get 15 middle schoolers to kind of focus, and the opportunity to break that up a little bit. At least that's how I'm equating asynchronous with synchronous. It feels like it could be more equitable solution for kids that have different learning styles and are less vocal versus ones that might be more vocal, because that was nobody's fault. It was just, I think the nature of the quick transition was really kind of challenging, I think, for some kids that were a little bit less vocal to kind of be heard and participate in that setting.
Yep, and for some teachers too. You know, one of the takeaways that I'm getting is that this is just not going to be the same for everyone, that we're not all in the same place in terms of our need for real time versus asynchronous versus Sunday or another day. And I do think that we have some real flexibility around this. And we have this idea that our teachers are really also acting kind of in the role of case managers with my help. And this is really going to be a family by family kind of situation in terms of what's working. I mean, in terms of the pressure, we're pretty low pressure. I mean, it really is Torah Lishma in terms of like Jewish learning and how to live a Jewish life. When it comes to, Bar Bat Mitzvah, there are definitely some skill-based pieces that we need the kids to, progress on and do well. But I too want this to be value added for our kids and to build community and, all of those pieces. And I'm getting the sense that even in the short experiment in the spring, we had a novel study happening, and we had some families that were like reading it and posting it and really getting into it. A couple we kind of lost, with the whole springtime. They just really couldn't go there. And so with this time that we've had to think about this, it's my hope that we can just really, really work with you in terms of, these are our educational goals and wants. These are our goals for community. These are the steps towards Bar Bat Mitzvah, that to have some different options to get there, and to know that things are going to change at different times, and to really have our eyes on the kids and make sure everybody's learning and growing. So it's a little messy, but there's also a lot of opportunity here. And I appreciate the comments that I'm hearing in terms of just your own lives and perspectives and keeping it real for what you want with the kids and what you're feeling like you're able to do.
I wanted to add, just thank everybody, first of all, for all of the input that you're giving us, because that's really helpful. And if there are other folks that are listening in that are also feeling like Jordana, I mean, I think it's really important to let Ben know, let us know, so that, maybe there is the set alternative that is whatever that is, that works better, not a Sunday or, however we would work it out. And then maybe the other set is we do a Sunday. So, so anyway, I would just say, everybody, let us know, lay it all out there, because we'll respond, and we'll get there. It's like the way we're thinking about high holidays now. We're gonna have, a set. We're gonna have services, and then we're gonna also have all these other ways that people can connect in, because that's kind of how you have to do it these days. So anyway, it's good to see everybody.
Thank you, Cantor. All right, thanks everyone. I really appreciate everyone taking the time and your input and questions. And please reach out and email me. I have a couple people that I'm gonna follow up with. And I hope to see y'all soon.
Me too.
Thanks,
Thank
Ben.
you.
Appreciate
Stay
it.
connected, you guys. Thanks,
Thank
Ben.
you. Appreciate
Thank
the
you.
time.
Thanks,
See
guys.
you. Bye.
Bye. Bye.
Thank you. Yeah, Ben.
Hey. So nice to see people. Thanks, you all.
Thanks, Ben. Thanks, everybody. Thanks.
All right. See y'all. Ed team, I'll see you soon. Thank you.